How is the ACN family doing this afternoon? Right, just before we get comfortable, ladies and gents, can we just all stand up? If we can just all stand up, everybody stand up. Right, so here's one thing I want you to do. I want you to turn to your neighbor on the left, put your left hand on the shoulder of them, put your right hand on the shoulder of them, and I want you to give them a nice Thai massage. Give them a massage. Now I want you to switch. I want you to switch. Give them a massage as if they're in Thailand. Give them a round of applause. Acknowledge your neighbor. Give them a round of applause. And thank them for being with us this weekend. Ladies and gents, I'm really excited to be here, and I just want to really just start my training with one question. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell your neighbor, shh. And tell them, let's listen to this training. So look, here's one thing I want to ask each and every single one of you, ladies and gents, is I want to ask you a question. And the question is, if not ACN, if we can get the slides up, if not ACN, then what? That's the question I want to ask each and every single one of you today. If this opportunity doesn't work for you and your family, what's the plan B? If not ACN, then what? You see, I know two types of people. There's someone in this arena that wants this to work, and there's someone else in this arena that needs this to work. How many of you just need ACN to work for you and your family by raise of hands? You see, ladies and gents, my name's Ahmed Mukhtar. I'm a senior vice president with ACN. This was actually myself growing up as a child. And growing up as a child, we weren't fortunate enough to have what we wanted in life. In fact, my mother for 21 years, she worked part-time, she worked full-time in multiple jobs. And she was also dependent on the government. But my father worked full-time for 22 years as a London bus driver. My father worked every single night, 7 days a week, and my mother worked every single day, 6 days a week. And we grew up as children, literally not having no time, no money, and we were financially struggling. In fact, this is where I grew up back London, and this is where we were raised. So growing up as a child, we didn't come from a fortunate family where we had what we wanted in life. You know, we always wanted to make a difference. And you see, ladies and gents, I just want to contrast it to something, because it's easy to be in Rotterdam today. I mean, every single one of us today, we live in Europe, the land of opportunity. Did you know that today, right today, Saturday the 25th, today there will be 43% of the world, 3.6 billion people will sleep hungry today. Did you know that today in the world, 22,000 children die because of malnutrition every single year? Now let me contrast that to something. That's like this whole arena filled with children that are gonna die because of malnutrition. Think about that for a minute. Did you know that today, 26% of the world don't have access to clean water? That's precisely 2.2 billion people don't have access to clean water. And here we are in Europe. Here we are in ACN. We complain that ACN's hard. All we have to do is get customers. All we have to do is talk to a few people about the ACN opportunity. You see, sometimes we don't understand how fortunate we are unless we have something to compare ACN to. And that's one thing I want to just tell each and every single one of you. Today, let this event, let the camaraderie of this event, let this change your life around. Because I had something to compare ACN to. And when you don't have something to compare ACN to, here's what happens. You end up having choices. You see, I've been reading a book called Think and Grow, which if you've never read it, I recommend you read it, because the average millionaire has read that book 7 times. And in Think and Grow, it speaks about a whole chapter, chapter 19. It speaks about, the chapter is named as specialized knowledge. You see, every single person that became super successful in this world today, all the top billionaires today, they became specialists at one thing before they diversified into other areas of their life. But we don't realize how fortunate we are because we have nothing to contrast ACN to. You see, this was me growing up back in the millennium of 2000. And growing up as a child, I was told, Ahmed, go to school, get an education, get a good degree, you will live happily ever after. And I was told your life will be like Cinderella after a degree. But it really ended up being like Simba when Mufasa died in The Lion King. I was really frustrated. I wanted to make a difference. I ended up working in the corporate world for 8 years. And for 8 years, I worked for one company. I was a loyal employee. I showed up on time. Man, I worked so hard. My work ethic was second to none. I was a commercial manager there. And I really wanted to make a difference. In 2013, a friend of mine gave me a call. In fact, there was a gentleman that I was working with. He left London, he moved to Manchester. And he just told me, Ahmed, there's an opportunity, come down and take a look, it will potentially change your life. You see, today we don't realize, we think that everyone knows about ACN. Honestly, they don't. Think about this, there's 700 million people in Europe. Think about it for me, look at the opportunity that we have. We can honestly make this a dream come true for someone, and someone invited me. And I came down to my first ACN event in 2013, Palau St. Jordi, Barcelona, Spain. And I sat just like each and every single one of you. And honestly, over that weekend, I was thinking about my mum. I was thinking about my dad. And I saw the lives that they were living, and I found myself crying when I saw those RVP promotions. How many of you were just excited about the 2 regional vice presidents that just got promoted this afternoon? You see, and when I saw these people getting promoted, honestly, I was crying. I was crying my eyes out. I was thinking about my mum. And one thing I realized after that weekend, that it's not up to anyone else other than myself. You see, ladies and gents, my topic today is momentum. So here's the reality. You see, here's one thing I want to tell each and every single one of you, is that momentum starts with you. You see, ladies and gents, momentum today, it doesn't start from anyone. I'm going to tell you guys 5 rules, 5 principles of building momentum. And here's rule number 1. Rule number 1 is, you have to fire your upline. You see, if this is gonna happen, it's gonna happen because of you. You don't get paid on your upline, but you get paid on you. Rule number 2, ladies and gents, you've got to learn how to present the ACN opportunity. You've got to become a presenter as soon as possible. You've got to learn how to launch a new IBO effectively. Number 3, never miss an ACN event. Become a promoter of events. In fact, we became so good at promoting events. Number 4, always be excited. And number 5, never stop being new. Now, what do I mean by this? Lead by example. Operate with integrity. Never stop being new. You see, the biggest problem in our business today, there's a lot of leaders which I called over-seasoned. And here's what over-seasoned mean. They think they know it all. Whilst the trainings are on, they're talking to their neighbor. Whilst events on, they're standing outside inspiring people. They don't show up to BOMs because they've heard it hundreds of times. The day you stop being new, that's the start of your downfall. You see, ladies and gents, never ever stop being new. That's the 5 rules of momentum. And adding on to that, fire your upline. The sooner you tell your upline, I love you, I respect you, I'll listen to you, but look, I've got to start doing this for myself and my family. You see, ladies and gents, here's one thing I want to tell each and every single one of you. You can't duplicate what you don't do yourself. You see, your team will operate at your intensity level and not any higher. And when I returned home from that weekend in Barcelona, Spain, here's one thing I realized. I realized that it's not the team that builds the leadership. You can be part of any organization, but it's the leadership that builds the team. So one thing I realized, I had all the ingredients that I needed to become successful, and that weekend changed my life. And I went out there and I took a lot of action. And I was an executive team trainer. And honestly, I didn't even know how to present, ladies and gents. And I can vouch for that. You don't need to know how to present ACN to do ACN. We all have the same presentation slides available on our back office. I didn't even know what I was speaking about when I was going to these living rooms. But I was excited. I spoke directly from the heart. I said, ladies and gents, my name is Ahmed Mukhtar, and I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm not a professional public speaker. You see, I'm just like each and every single one of you. I saw this opportunity 6 months ago. I was really excited, decided to get involved, and here's the reason why I'm doing it. I would love to have more time freedom. I like to spend more time with my family, but let me just show you how you can do the exact same thing. And I used to just present from the heart. And this was me at multiple living rooms as an executive team trainer, building the business. And I presented the business everywhere I went. And I spoke to everyone I knew. I literally went to living room to living room to living room. There were sometimes that they laughed at me. There were sometimes they said, okay. There were sometimes they said, you're crazy. Honestly, there was a living room that the father walked in and he said, get out my living room. And I'm telling you, it's part of your journey. And I presented the business everywhere I went. And I didn't stop. Whether it was a hotel, look, I got kicked out of more Starbucks than people had coffee in. I got kicked out of more living rooms that people have watched TV in. And I'm telling you, I presented the business everywhere I went. Every single opportunity I had, I presented the business. And as an executive team trainer, I started forming a little group. And this was us back at executive team trainer. And there was a little group that we formed, and at the time it was only about 7 of us, and we were excited. And I had an epiphany. And because I was working at such an intensity level, here's one thing I realized. I realized one thing in ACN. Here it is. What I realized in ACN is your team will work at your intensity level and not any higher. Let me give you an example. Projected behind me is Usain Bolt. Have you noticed when Usain is running a 100-meter sprint, have you noticed sometimes when he is at a distance away from his competition, have you noticed he kind of does a gesture where he winks at the camera or he looks back at them? But have you noticed the people behind him, they're probably running faster than they've ever run before, and here's why. Because of the intensity level that he's raising during that race is at such a high level. You see, the reality, ladies and gents, is in ACN, if you don't raise the intensity level of you and your team will never ever know how to work in ACN. So here's one thing I did. The higher that I went, I raised my intensity level. So at ETT, I was working day by day, night by night. I became an executive team leader. I started working day by day, night by night. Got to executive team leader. I started upping my intensity level. Started playing a bigger game. I started working harder. Started showing the business to more people. And I presented everywhere that I went to. In fact, this is a picture when I presented at university. No word of a lie. The security didn't even know I was in that university. It was the quickest presentation ever. I was like, man, let me show you a business called ACN, 25 countries around the world, 1.75 trillion industry, gas, electricity, broadband, internet, landline, ETT, ETL, TC, RD. Do you know what I'm saying? Are you in or you out? You know, it was really that quick. Because I didn't know when I was gonna get kicked out. You see, and here's the thing, I went to another university, no word of a lie, in London. And this university, I walked into the classroom and I asked them a question. I said, guys, is there a teacher here today? They said no. I said, I'm your supply teacher, gonna teach you economical finances, let's get started. And I literally started presenting the business. And I started presenting the business, and as I was presenting the business, guess what happened? I had 26 people in my team. I was like, wow. You can see Ayub El-Amrani behind me on grace period at ETT, right? And I was like, wow, I was really excited. My team started growing. So guess what I did? I upped my intensity level. And this was me presenting living room to living room to living room. We said, guys, you know, we're doing quite well, 26 of us. Let's start our first Saturday training. And our first Saturday training, it wasn't at a fancy hotel. No, we couldn't afford that. Our first Saturday training was inside a home. And we literally did it in the living room. And the living room wasn't a great living room. In fact, you can see the sofa and the bed, people are sitting on it. We had no space that guests had to sit on the floor. Can you imagine if you were invited to a business open meeting, a business overview meeting, and someone told you, hey, it's in a home. It's in an apartment. And the apartment's not good, trust me. You had to wipe your feet when you leave. But that's another story. But we upped our game and we went to work. And this is me as executive team leader. I'm literally presenting the business in Abdul Sharif's bedroom where he lived at the time with his mother. You can see the room is so small that I'm on my knees. There are 2 team coordinators today on the bed. And they're literally listening to me, and I'm giving them a moving vision. What is a moving vision? Telling people where you're gonna be 6 months, even if you ain't there yet. You see, vision, ladies and gents, is seeing the unseen before it's been seen. So I'm telling them, guys, one day we're gonna have big hotel rooms, we're gonna have this and that, 5-star venues. We're gonna build a big, big business. And honestly, at the time, they were a bit confused. Here's the conversation when we walked into Abdul Sharif's mother's house. Hi, auntie, hope you're well. Yeah, I'm good, boys. How are you guys? We're great, auntie. Auntie, just 4 of us. I hope you don't mind. Us 4 guys, we're going to go into the bedroom. For about 2 hours, we've got some unfinished business. I promise we don't last long. We're very quick. And that's the conversations we had every single week with Abdul Sharif's mother. And she got to a point, she said, I don't like this business. 4 of you guys go to my bedroom every day. I change the sheets every time. I'm like, auntie, trust me, we're using paper and pen, nothing more, right? And we continued building the business, ladies and gents, and we went to work and we upped our game. Our PBR started getting more packed. We started attracting more people, and this was us, literally, living room started getting packed. And we did our first kickoff event, and here's what the group asked me. They said, Ahmed, where shall we do our first event? I said, how about we do it in the university that I was almost gonna get kicked out of? And that's what we did. And our first kickoff event was like this. And we did it in this university. We didn't even know if we were gonna get kicked out. We didn't even know if the presentation was gonna last. The highest position in that room was executive team leader. Do you know what we used to tell people? ETT, ETL, and I used to go do the closing remarks at executive team leader. We said, ladies and gents, there's no team coordinator, there's no regional director, there's no RVP, there's no SVP, but here's the great thing. The next one could be you. And people used to get involved. And then as an executive team leader, I was running for team coordinator. Who's experienced the third line blues? Who knows what I'm talking about? And running for team coordinator, sat down in coffee shops, PBRs, I presented the business everywhere. And I started going to work. And finally, I became team coordinator. As executive team leader, I worked day by day, night by night, day by day, night by night. As a team coordinator, I worked day by day, night by night. And we started building the business. Our team started growing. They started getting excited. And that first event that we had, no word of a lie, the next week it went to this. And we went, and here's one thing I said to myself, I get it. I completely get it. I figured this thing out. And here's what I figured out. The higher you go up the plan, up in your intensity level, what happens most of the time as regional vice presidents, regional directors, team coordinators, we start to experience a bit of leverage, where our team's producing without us, so we stop working and we expect other people to do what we're not doing. But here's the reality, your team's gonna operate at your intensity level. If you do ACN 1 hour a week, they're gonna do the same thing. And then I became a regional director. And when I became a regional director, I upped in my game, I went to work and I started working day by day, night by night. The next event in Rotterdam came up and I made a commitment that very next event. I took 200 people to that event with us. Our team took 200 people. Imagine this weekend you had 200 people with you, and literally the next week our event will look like this. And we went from this to this, and we went from this to this. And I became a regional vice president in Barcelona, Spain, because of the events, because of the commodity, because of what we created. And here's what I did, ladies and gents. When I became a regional vice president, I didn't stop and experience the leverage and the residual income. That didn't exist in my world. I went to work. I started working day by day, night by night. And then here's what we started promoting: more regional vice presidents. And this was our team in Munich, Germany. And we went from this, and the next week from Munich, Germany, promoting events and working hard and building the business. And because I was operating at that intensity level, everyone in my team instantly thought that that's the normal level to operate. And everyone started doing the same thing. And we went from this to this. And we literally went from this to this. And this was our event in London every single week. This was our Super Sunday events, sorry. And I became a senior vice president. And honestly, senior vice president completely changed my life around. And I'm a person that started just like you. I sat in the very same seats just like you. I know some of you are crying this weekend after you heard those testimonials. I know some of you are dreaming. I know some of you are at a point where you're feeling so emotional. I promise you, I know exactly how it feels. And our business, what we did, we just started promoting the event because we knew what the event created. And we went from this, and this was us, and literally our event started getting more packed. We had a regional event in London, and this was our regional event. And we started growing from event to event to event. And our event started getting more full. We started having belief. And here's one thing I can tell you, and here's the reason why. You see, momentum starts with you. You see, ladies and gents, here's one thing I can tell each and every single one of you. And here's the reality. Here's one thing I can tell you. Work ethic shows. Everything else is a lie. Everything else is a lie. You see, here's the reality. That you are as close to senior vice president as you think, and you are as far as to senior vice president as you think. And you know what ended up happening? Because I was operating at such an intensity level, we started attracting better people. You see, you will attract people based on the level of growth you are and not any higher. And we started attracting better people. And there was an individual that came into our business. You know, at the time when he came into ACN, he was struggling financially. He wasn't where he wanted to be, you know, and in fact, he was homeless as he was building his ACN business. And when I met this individual, he literally had no success, nothing. But here's this individual today. Today is a regional vice president, 4-star President's Club member, walked the stage earlier on. You see, I met another individual, and here he is. You heard him earlier on. Came into ACN, came from another network marketing company, made no excuses, worked extremely hard, followed the system that we had in place, that ACN had in place, and today this is him as a regional vice president. Met another individual who was a full-time medical doctor, working in the A&E department for 80 hours a week. This individual had no network marketing experience, came into ACN, followed the ACN proven system. Today this is him, regional vice president, Dr. James Sellu. And more than that, we started attracting better people. Regional Vice President, Circle of Champions member, Mr. Abdul Sharif. Now, I don't know why Abdul's holding a skateboard, because he can't even skateboard, right? But today, this gentleman is a Circle of Champions member. You see, you heard from an individual earlier on. When I met him, his life was spiraling downhill. I promise you, he would have probably been in the wrong place if this hadn't worked for him. But today, that person, he's Regional Vice President, Circle of Champions member, Mr. Ayub Al-Amani. You see, I met another individual, full-time taxi bus driver that you just heard, Mr. Daniel Islam, got promoted to Regional Vice President. Today, he was the #1 regional director in customer production throughout the entire year of 2016. You see, ladies and gents, here's one thing I can tell you. That momentum starts with you. It really, really does start with you. And what do I mean by this? You see, in your business, I can't see you guys, so. In your business, people will start doing what you do. It's the reality. You see, in your business, ladies and gents, people will do what you do. If you don't operate at a high intensity level, look at the torches lighting up. You see, if you don't operate at intensity level, your team will do the same thing. You see, you gotta do what you expect other people to do. If you don't, they're not gonna follow suit. Look at the arena, everyone. Look at the arena, everyone. You see, your business, ladies and gents, your team operates at your intensity level. You see, ladies and gents, here's one thing I want to tell you. That we are blessed to be in ACN. Look around the room, everyone. Look how much lights are on. Ladies and gents, if we're going to take this company to a multi-billion-dollar company, raise your light up right now. Let me hear you. Raise your light up right now. Right, let's get the lights back on. You see, did you notice, ladies and gents, that once I put my lighter on, did you notice everyone just instantly followed? Here's the point I'm trying to make. As a leader, people do as you do and not as you say. And that's the reality. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. It's going to be tough. And I'm telling you, I did it just like every single one of you. I know there are people from all different markets, man. Look, let's say Germany right now. You know the opportunity that Germany has today? Think about the largest economy in Europe today, 80 million people. This is what we did in the UK to build momentum. This is what happened in France, Netherlands, Portugal, Spain. You see, before ACN came into Spain, before Miriam and Bash came into ACN, there was no Spain. There was no ACN in Spain. It takes a leader to take this business and take it to the next level. Ladies and gents, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be an emotional roller coaster. But here's one thing about ACN, ladies and gents. You need 6 people. It's not easy, but it's simple. The difference between simple and easy, if you're going to work tomorrow, is simple. But to get out of the bed in the morning, it's not easy. You see, when you're building your business, here's what you got to do. You're going to come across 3 different types of people. And I heard this from Mr. Greg Provenzano last year at the COC meeting. It changed my thinking. The #1 person you're going to come across is people known as confidants. Confidants, they'll be with you through the hard times. They'll be with you through the highs, through the lows. They're going to comfort you. They're going to build this with you. You're going to make a difference together. The second type of person you're going to come across is people known as comrades. Comrades are people that are only with you for a season. If you operate in an army, you're going to have comrades that are going to be with you for a period for one operation, but the next operation you're going to work with someone completely different. The third type of person, constituents. They're like groupies. They're only around for a season. You see, here's the biggest mistake we make in ACN, ladies and gents, is that we mistake our confidants we mistake the confidants for our constituents and comrades. You see, here's the key to becoming a senior vice president. You got to find 6 people. You got to help them, because they will help others based on how much you help them. You've got to care for them. You've got to love them. And you can go create history. You see, here's one thing I want to tell you, ladies and gents, is that it's worth working day by day, night by night. I'll tell you why. When your ETT work day by day, night by night. When your ETL work day by day, night by night. When your TC work day by day, night by night. When your RD work day by day, night by night. When your RVP work day by day, night by night. Up in your intensity level. Help your team. Don't say I'm a regional vice president, I'm making residual income. Let me just sit back. Work day by day, night by night. I'll tell you why. You know when you're SVP, the leverage you're going to experience? Because your team will work day by day, night by night based on your your intensity level, and you can go on holiday vacation anywhere around the world, day by day, night by night. You see, ladies and gents, I want to end my training with one thing. You see, when you go to the cemetery, you see, the wealthiest place in the world today is the cemetery. It's not Wall Street, it's not the economy of Germany. The wealthiest place today is the cemetery. In the cemetery, there are ideas that were never written, songs that were never sang, talents that were never unraveled, you know, ideas that were never manifested. You see, when you go to a cemetery, don't look at the name on the tombstone. You see the name, then you see the start date, when the person was born, and you see the day that they died. The most important thing in a cemetery, when you're looking at a tombstone, is the dash between the years. It's the dash. Because the dash represents that person's life. And in fact, I want to just share a poem that really inspired me, that was shared to me by one of the executive team leaders in our group. And every day I've been reading this poem, and I want to just share it with you guys. It's written by Linda Ellis. So here it goes. I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on her casket from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of her birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered the most of all was the dash between the years. For all that dash represents all the time she spent on earth, and now only those who loved her knows what that little line is worth. For matters is not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters the most is how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Think about this long and hard. Is there things you would like to change? For you never know how much time is left and that you can still rearrange. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eagerly is being read with your life in actions to rehash, what would you be proud of the most? They say about how you spent your dash. You see, ladies and gents, we have everything in ACN. There's nothing to complain about. There's nothing to compare it to. I'm telling each and every single one of you, let the camaraderie of this weekend change your life around. Grab this with both hands. Do what I did, because an idea without action doesn't get any bigger than the brain cell we're occupied. Do what I did. Stay focused. I'm telling you, write your goals down. Write what you would like this weekend to do for you down now. Write what type of business you want to build right down now. Every level you go up in your intensity level. Never get complacent. Never settle down for less. Never ever let someone's, look, here's the reality. If you don't build your own dreams, someone else will hire you to build theirs. You see, ladies and gents, look, the average human being today, the average life expectancy in Europe is 78 years old. So if it's 78 years old, you work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you would spend 18.6 years working for someone else. Now, if you live until you're 78 years old, you sleep 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, you would spend 25 years sleeping. Think about that. 43.6 years of our life is gone either unconscious or is gone working for someone else. Don't let someone else's reason why become the reason why you don't fulfill yours. I'm telling each and every single one of you, ACN is going to become a multi-billion-dollar company. You've got to believe it. Each and every single one of us in this arena, we can make this happen. I'm telling each and every single one of you, no excuses, no one to blame, no more playing it safe. Let's take this company to a multi-billion-dollar company. I'll see you in Madrid. Take care, everybody.